Hello and welcome back, everybody. I apologize for the absence over the last week and a half or so. I am not dead, or at least I'm not completely dead. And if you hear any creepy scratching or thud sounds in the background, that is my cat trying to break into the room. But anyways, welcome back to another weekly energy and resource update episode, going over oil, gas, minerals, mining, energy and resources, the whole lot of it. If you want to be informed about such stuff, then subscribe and stick around and everything. Also, watch some of the other videos. We have plenty of stuff. Do please subscribe to and check out my other channel. There's a link to that. I'm really trying to get that one up to 1,000 subs and the 4,000 watch hour threshold. Or if you want to just send me money, my PayPal is down in the description below. But regardless, jumping into this data, as the title says, U.S. oil production has now exceeded 13 million barrels per day, climbing up to 13.1 million barrels per day, and I do maintain my expectation that it will hit 13.6 by the end of this year. U.S. oil consumption, or demand, came in at 21.3 million barrels per day for this week that has just ended. Individual numbers within that being 9.19 million barrels per day of gasoline demand, diesel fuel demand 3.92, jet fuel 1.71, and propane consumption 1.79 million barrels per day equivalent. And global jet fuel consumption has resumed increasing now as it rises and falls over the course of each year, hitting the highest during the summer and the lowest during the winter. So this week it's back up to 5.5 million barrels per day. The present record has been 6.6 million barrels per day for the highest ever weekly level, so we'll see this year if we exceed that. U.S. crude oil inventories increased by 800,000 barrels over the course of the week, and oil prices, after the quote-unquote collapse of the OPEC Russia alliance, and with all the coronavirus stuff going on, oil prices have collapsed from the lower 50s down to the lower 40s in dollars per barrel. U.S. natural gas production continues falling, actually, after hitting a height of 109 billion cubic feet per day. It has been falling over the last several weeks, now down to 106.4. I don't believe that's going to end up being the actual second and final U.S. natural gas production peak. I was actually expecting it to come more likely in the upper 110s. U.S. natural gas consumption dropped down to 111.2 billion cubic feet per day. Individual numbers within that being heating demand, 34.5, natural gas-fired power plant consumption, 29.8, U.S. exports on LNG tankers, after getting all the way up to 9 billion cubic feet per day, are now back down to 8.1, and consumption by the pipeline system for its own pumping system fuel coming in at 7.2. U.S. natural gas storage inventories are down to 2.09 trillion cubic feet in storage, in comparison to normally by this time of year, they would be down to 1.91. And last year, which was a very high demand winter year, they were already down to 1.41. The UK, whose natural gas storage problems I've talked about countless times in previous episodes, so please watch any of those to find out about that. UK natural gas storage inventories are now down to only 9 billion cubic feet in storage. And although the danger is still there, again, we're almost out of winter, so I don't think the UK will bottom out this time. But with how low their maximum storage capacity is, that is a very likely risk during the immediate future winters. And Canadian natural gas storage inventories, I don't have that data, as the Canadian government is now late releasing it by over a month. You guys aren't a chat, your viewers, but any Canadians in the chat, please get your government to actually, get back on track here, actually start doing its job again. And natural gas prices over the course of the past week remained between the range of $1.70 and $1.85 per 1,000 cubic feet. And the international oil production data for the broad list of countries was released. So going down the list, after having a sudden production drop down to the 720s, Azerbaijan is back up to 783,000 barrels per day. Argentina's oil production remains the same, 514,000 barrels per day. Australia's oil production, after climbing back up over 400,000, is now back below it, down to 395. Brazil exceeded 3 million barrels per day, jumping up to 3.09. Canada has come back up to 4.55 million barrels per day. China's oil production still hanging on to that same range between 3.7 and 3.9. This month coming in at 3.82 million barrels per day. Equatorial Guinea has resumed coming back down, now back down to 156,000 barrels per day. Chad still holding a 128,000 barrel per day plateau. Ghana coming in at 214,000 barrels per day. Cameroon still holding just under 70,000 barrels per day, coming in at 69 this time. India continues on its steady, very standard, very textbook terminal decline, dropping a few thousand more down to 650,000 barrels per day. Indonesia coming back up a little bit to 726,000 barrels per day. Kazakhstan recovering from its sudden production drop up to 1.94 million barrels per day. Mexico stalling its terminal decline a little bit longer, coming in at 1.73 million barrels per day. Once again, Mexico no longer being a net exporter, as their average domestic consumption levels are now around 1.9 million barrels per day themselves. Oman continuing to hold their relative plateau, this month coming in at 972,000 barrels per day. Russia still holding between 10.8 and 10.9, this time coming in at 10.85 million barrels per day. The UK continuing to be completely undecidable, swinging up and down all over the place. The 900,000s, the 800,000s, 1.1 million, 1 million, 900,000s again. This month, you guys came in at 1.04 million barrels per day. Colombia continuing to decline by a few thousand each month, now down to 880,000 barrels per day. Malaysia continuing to recover from their sudden production loss a few months back, coming in this month at 632,000 barrels per day. Pakistan holding their oil production at 92,000 barrels per day. Qatar holding their plateau again at 1.52 million barrels per day. South Sudan holding their production plateau at around 180,000 barrels per day. And regular Sudan holding theirs at just under 80,000 barrels per day. Trinidad and Tobago, tiny little island nation in the Caribbean, down to 59,000 barrels per day again. Still technically an exporter, although not for much longer, as their own domestic consumption levels are currently 47,000 barrels per day. Turkmenistan down to 190,000 barrels per day. Thailand continuing to wobble around, coming in this month at 237,000 barrels per day. And Vietnam heading down towards falling under 200,000 barrels per day again, coming in a little bit above it at 206,000. Over in metals, aluminum inventories continue declining down to 1.04 million tons in storage, and aluminum prices have dropped under $1,700 per ton down to $1,680. Nickel inventories holding relatively flat in the mid 230,000s in tons in storage, and nickel prices remaining relatively just under $13,000 per ton. Lead prices actually moved from 67,000 tons in storage, climbing up to 70,000 tons in storage. While lead prices have swung around in the 1800s, zinc inventories have remained relatively flat around 75,000 tons in storage, while zinc prices have dropped under $2,000 per ton down to the 1980s. Global gold inventories dropped a little bit down to 8.66 million ounces in storage. Gold prices coming in at around $1,670 per ounce. Global silver inventories coming in again at 323 million ounces in storage, while silver prices dropped back under $18 per ounce. Supposedly, platinum inventories are still up at 157,000 ounces in storage. Platinum prices have declined down towards $900 per ounce. And palladium inventories are supposedly still holding at 35,000 ounces in storage, and palladium prices have dropped back down under $2,600 per ounce. While the rare earths, they've begun really climbing again, particularly dysprosium and terbium this week. Dysprosium climbing back up to $352 per kilogram, and terbium jumping all the way back up to $695 per kilogram. And in miscellaneous stuff, manganese, one of the critical three foundational components of steel, those being obviously iron, carbon, and usually 1% manganese. After having its price recovery, manganese came tumbling back down again, down to $1,620 per ton. Alright, that's about it for this round. Again, sorry for the absence. If you donate any amount on PayPal, your name will get painted or permanently placed on some of my filming or photography equipment somewhere. And so far that list contains 0 people, so there's plenty of spaces open. Again, if you can please check out and watch stuff on my other channel as well. It's up to 272 subs now, so obviously trying to get it to 1,000 and also trying to cross that 4,000 viewing hour threshold. And I don't know if anyone will end up really being interested, but in the community posts thing, I guess I'll put a link to one or multiple of my different accounts and places where I post my photography. Because I also enjoy and do photography, but I don't get paid for that either. But no matter what, may God bless you all, and I will see you all around next time.